heroic mission to corrupt mind of American great success. Yeah, I don't think that, like, also the war is not popular, especially in Europe. The far right are going on an anti-NATO in their campaign. Yeah, but they're not going to be anti-NATO. Like, look at Meloni. Italian fascism and European fascism in the aftermath of World War II was directly propped up by NATO. They might engage in somewhat pro-Russian sentiment or say, we got to stop this war, we got to stop this war. But ultimately, they're not going to say no to NATO. And the NATO interest in this is Ukraine keeps pushing back on Russian forces, no matter how many Ukrainians die in the process.
If you invite me on your podcast, we could discuss them like free men.
He's doing the millennial pause. The far right are great to package themselves with left-leaning messaging only to do the complete opposite of socialism because they only believe that people deep down prefer socialism at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, if there was there was another guy who was, there were two guys that presented themselves as leftists early on, or at least like invoked the left-wing populist economic sentiment, while they just had an underlying nationalism that they wanted to actually push for, really. Adolf Hitler and old Benito. Okay? He said Benito Mussolini. Yeah.
Ministers from the UK and key EU countries are meeting in Berlin days after Vladimir Putin said Russia had the right to target the military facilities of countries supplying weapons to.
Why shouldn't Ukraine strike Russia? My position on this has been the same from the jump, which is that anything that stops the pain, anything that stops the bleeding is good. Okay? That's it. Anything that actually worsens the situation or hardens the conflict is bad. This is, of course, Russia further pushing into Ukrainian territory. That should stop. That is bad. It's also a matter of like how you can influence the parties that are either being invaded or doing the invasion. This is why I was a big fan of the early ceasefire negotiation that many of the pro-Ukrainian accounts actually yelled at me over and said that I was pro-Putin over. Famous 15-point ceasefire plan that was negotiated on and then immediately cast aside after, Boris Johnson was like, no, we have full commitment to the Ukraine. We will defend you unconditionally. What? Your take before the Ukraine-Russia war was good for peace? What do you mean? Yes, but don't you think stopping the bleeding will encourage Russia to continue this down the line? Putin doesn't seem very willing to make peace without taking more land. I don't even know how they're going to handle the currently annexed territories. But it's a matter of, is there even enough people to engage in this kind of defense? That's the problem. Does Ukraine have enough manpower to be able to continue this war of attrition, which seemingly Russia has more manpower to throw at the problem? And it doesn't seem like that is the case, which is part of the reason why I think even more and more Ukrainians nowadays are in favor of a ceasefire negotiation. It's actually reached the majority of the Ukrainian population now. The responsible parties here are China, Russia, Ukraine, and the United States of America in the most reductive terms possible. Obviously, like Western powers like the UK are simply operating at the behest of American State Department interests. I think personally, the way I see it, there were many different exit ramps. I think Ukraine, along with funding, can keep defending themselves. I mean, I don't think you're right. I think you're wrong. I think all evidence points to the contrary. Ukraine's incursion into Kursk was not a resounding success. In that time frame, Russia took more territory. And ultimately, all the weapons that you send, you're wrong. Okay. My point has always been the same. You implement a ceasefire. A lot of people say appeasement. Okay. The opposite of appeasement is more war. If you do a ceasefire and Russia doesn't abide by the standards set by the ceasefire, you've given Ukraine more time and opportunity to recoup and recover and launch a counterattack against Russian invasion. And the situation on the ground doesn't really change all that much. You say Russia hardens their positions, but they already have. They've mined the shit out of eastern Ukraine. Not only that, but also, you're back to square one if the ceasefire negotiations fall apart, or if Russia does not abide by the standards set in this ceasefire process. Helicopters right now circling above WeHo announcing that they're in pursuit of a terror suspect and report sightings. They talking about you? Yeah, they're talking about me. Can you explain what China has to do with this? China is a global superpower that is on the side of Russia in this process. They have time and time again talked about putting forth a ceasefire proposal. And I think at times they've even pushed Russia not to go overboard, like when the nuclear brinksmanship was occurring early on. But if all you do is appease over and over again, will there any be Ukraine left to defend after a certain point? I understand and agree with you wanting to stop the suffering, but what good will foreign and unjust peace do if it means the bully Russia wins? I mean, I want a ceasefire in I want a ceasefire in Gaza as well. I would never be like, oh no, the Palestinians should fight until the last man. It's the same shit. I'm never going to be like, the Palestinians have to fight till the last man. I don't care. I don't care what happens. They have to fucking fight because I care about the human beings. Okay? That's it. I think that ultimately, even in this process, if there's appeasement and Russia violates the ceasefire, then you're back to square one.
To Ukraine. Poland has always insisted Ukraine has every right to use Western-sent missiles against Russia in self-defense. But the country hosts several US military facilities, including one that Russian officials have identified as a possible target if the war escalates. Our Eastern Europe correspondent Sarah Rainsford reports from Warsaw.
When Vladimir Putin threatens to escalate his war, it's people in places like Redzikowo that might worry. Because just beyond the wire in this tiny Polish town,
your position that foreign policy is independent of the president is brain dead. By that logic, the Iraq wars was inevitable and not a specific goal of a neocon insurgency. Mersheimer Marxism undefeated. I like that you say Mersheimer is a Marxist. Yeah. Famous Marxist, dude. Incredible. Incredible cook. Thank you. I also think that the Iraq war was inevitable is such a funny take to say with the Kamala Harris campaign. And not only just the Kamala Harris campaign, but the Joe Biden administration basically following through on the neocon agenda of escalating tensions and allowing Israel to fucking do whatever it wants. Yeah, you're right. It's not independent. You're so right. You're so right. Every administration has had dramatic differences. No, American foreign policy only goes in one direction, far right or just right. Okay. You always say, do you think Al Gore would have invaded Iraq if 9/11 happened under Al Gore? Probably. Yes. The question I have for you is, why didn't Obama end the Iraq war after running against it? Why didn't Obama end Afghanistan after running against it? Why didn't Joe Biden reinstate the Iran denuclearization agreement if they were against it? Most still open. American foreign policy is the same no matter who's in charge. It is uniparty. Why didn't Joe Biden change Trump's direction on the Abraham Accords and instead just reaffirmed his commitment to Donald Trump's severe escalations? You say it massively escalated under Trump. These are inflection points like a cruise ship. I just think that American foreign policy is independent of the personal ideology of American leadership and entirely dependent on the material interests of the defense contractors. That's what I think. And I think that because of that, it only goes in one direction, and that is death or more death. Right-wingers always make matters worse. That much is true. But then when Democrats come back into power, they rarely ever take on the right-wing direction or the more military escalation direction. They just normalize that as though it's the standard. All of this is coming from the fact that you also personally think Donald Trump is going to change trajectory on Ukraine. And I say, if that happens, it would have happened under the Democratic leadership as well. Because I believe that it is entirely determined. It is entirely determined on the battlefield. I don't think that Trump individually has a different perspective. He did change trajectory on North Korea. No, he didn't. No, he didn't do he allowed the South Korean and North Korean government to deal with it on their own. It was not all that significant for American foreign policy interests. So he just let them cook. And it didn't matter at the end of the day, because look at the situation now.
Is an American military base, one that Russia has openly called a potential target. The site was opened officially this month, part of a US missile defense shield to protect the skies over Europe. Then, when Russia fired a hypersonic weapon at Ukraine, Vladimir Putin warned those who arm Kyiv with missiles they could be next. So some here are nervous. It's all Regina's family talk about. She says they feel the threat from Russia is growing. Though, says Vladimir Putin, would never take on the US, because then he and Russia would be wiped off the earth.
So you feel the history here in Poland quite acutely?
Correct. Poland has suffered a lot from the Soviet times and from Russian imperialism. And
back in the capital, this MP tells me her country understands the threat from Russia better than others further west. And she believes standing up to Putin is the only choice.
What he's currently saying, is not credible. I think that if we were to appease him in any way, shape or form, that would only...
No way. This channel is cooking. Should we return Crimea to Turkey? Shut the fuck up. This is like, dude, this is actually crazy. This is actually crazy. Oh my God. Everything that I joke about inevitably becomes real truth, okay?
Strengthen
I gotta pee.
The Russian aggression. It's either Ukraine that we support, or we have Russia behind our eastern borders.
But Poland believes Moscow is already attacking here. When fire tore through this giant mall in Warsaw, the Prime Minister said Russia was likely to blame. Linked to this and other incidents meant to destabilise as well as destroy.
It's strange to think that this fire could be anything to do with Russia, but that's what the authorities were investigating. And not just here, but acts of arson and sabotage right across Poland that could be part of a hybrid war.
When I ask people here about the risk of rocket strikes, this lady laughs that Putin isn't the only one who has missiles. But Russia's murkier hybrid attacks on Poland have already escalated. Sarah Rainsford, BBC News.
Can Ukraine win? That's the question on the minds of many analysts as the war in Ukraine grinds on.
With regards to Ukrainian forces, a friend described it as they are bleeding out.
Today, after over 2.5 years of fighting, Russia controls about 18% of Ukrainian territory. What's more, Ukrainian troops are outnumbered and outgunned, with little prospect of significant relief. Donald Trump's victory in the presidential election also brings a fresh jolt of uncertainty to continued U.S. support for Ukraine.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives.
Now, with Russia continuing to make slow gains on the battlefield and Kyiv facing a tough winter, some believe Ukraine may need to come up with a more realistic plan. To better understand the state of play on the battlefield and what may come next, the Wall Street Journal sat down with retired Brigadier General.
Someone's going to clip this and say Hassan was advocating to his audience that Ukraine will lose the war. This video? Yeah. Also, by the way, while we're having this conversation, live reporting from CNN says that Russia is doing a mass swarm of drone attacks. Drones attacking the Ukrainian capital from all directions.
What was said concerning the desire to restore relations with Russia to help end the Ukrainian crisis, in my opinion, seems to me to be at least worthy of attention. And tonight, Aaron, more threats coming from the Russians. A senior Russian lawmaker coming out and saying that that big missile that the Russians launched at Ukraine shows what he calls the inevitability of retaliation should things escalate further here in this region. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister also coming out and saying that Russia has security interests.
We're going to talk about the situation in Romania. It's just like we haven't even been able to get to that because I think this is important.
General Mark Kimmett.
Before we talk about the battlefield, it might be helpful to put the battlefield in perspective. Ukraine is much, much larger. It goes along this entire borderline. 4/5 of the country is not involved in the war directly. There's no direct combat action going on. The Russians right now are focused, as a main effort, is up in the Donetsk and Luhansk. They're trying to, of course, continue to push to the east, but there are also two other areas of interest. This area around Sumy is the area that people now know as the Kursk salient, where the Ukrainians made a attack into Russia proper, trying to pull off significant amount of forces from the front lines.
According to General Kimmett, the Kursk salient attack wasn't just the most effective move Ukraine made within the past year. It was also a significant propaganda victory for the Ukrainians.
I think it was
Like, I don't understand, especially because in the process, they literally lost more Ukrainian territory. You know what I mean? Like, Russians made further incursions into Ukrainian territory.
It was masterful in terms of the element of surprise that they could attack into Russia, make gains, and point a dagger towards Moscow a couple of hundred miles away. It was in many ways wrong in terms of its other intent, which was to draw key Russian forces off the Eastern Front. And I think it was wrong because it was inevitable that the Russians would do what the Russians always do, which is they're now trying to envelop that force.
It's a bargaining chip, or do you want the ceasefire to be pure loss for Ukraine? No, dog, I don't think you understand. Dude, just listen to the fucking general, okay? Listen to what he's saying. Don't listen to me. You think I'm a fucking biased operative that has, a cynical purpose for analyzing the situation the way I'm analyzing it. Like, no, I don't think Russia's invasion is in any way, shape, or form moral or justifiable, okay? I don't know how many fucking times I have to bring this up. Jesus Christ, dude.
Luhansk and Donetsk. The battle for the last 6 months has, for the most part, been focused on one side defending and the other side attacking key road installations. Primarily, these two roads going into Kharkiv are being blocked at these key intersections where a number of roads come through. But these are very, very small areas, very small distances measured in the kilometers, in many times the hundreds of meters. Down here in Zaporizhia and Kherson, it's clear that the Russians are holding the line there. I don't think there's an opportunity for this winter for the Ukrainian forces to make any headway down here. They might, in fact, push out a little bit from Kherson, but I think they're going to go into the wintertime holding the line. So overall, stalemate along this line. This is where the main effort of the Russian forces are focused upon, trying to break through along this route and along this route to either threaten Kharkiv or to come down here and surround the forces that are, the Ukrainian forces that are attacking along this route, and of course trying to get Donetsk back if you're the Ukrainians and attack west if you're the Russians. So watch this area for the main action, supporting action up here around Kharkiv and Kursk, and holding the line down here in Zaporizhia and Kherson.
In recent months, the Ukrainians have had success deploying drone swarms into Russia. These long-range strikes, which have reached all the way to Russia's Arctic shores in the north and areas bordering Kazakhstan in the east, have slammed into missile storage facilities, strategic fuel reserves, military airfields, and defense plants. Despite the many sacrifices made thus far by the Ukrainians, General Kimmett sees the conflict as an ongoing stalemate.
I think it'd be accurate to say that neither side is winning, nor is either side losing. But if you talk about the ability to replace those forces, it is clear that the Ukrainians are losing capability at a faster rate than the Russians are losing capability.
The West still backs Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's long-term stated aim of taking back control of Ukrainian territory. But recently, the Biden administration said it was concerned that the Ukrainian leader's plan for winning the war against Russia lacks a comprehensive strategy.
His war aims, which is pushing the Russians out, restoring sovereignty.
Will people actually still say cope after this? I suspect they still will, or will tell me that I'm like wrong or have some kind of like cynical opinion here. But I see no way out of this. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but when you got people who were originally committed to Ukraine is doing a fantastic job over and over again, saying that Ukraine is actually destroying Russia and is like purging all the Russians from its territory, like there were a lot of these people, and now their positions have changed. One must take note of why their positions have changed. Like, when you got Western media also being like, yeah, maybe the situation is untenable, unmanageable. There's a reason for why they're saying that. And it would have been infinitely smarter for Biden and his supposed adults in the room, foreign policy experts, to actually try to come to a meaningful resolution than to allow Donald Trump and his madman antics to deal with the process in perhaps an incredibly violent way. I do not know how Donald Trump is going to deal with it. But the reality of the matter is, all the annexed territory that Russia has permanently annexed at this point are going to launch insurgency battles. Russia, and I said this last time, will not be able to maintain this territory militarily, okay, without incurring severe penalties. So it's not even in the long-term interest of Russia to be able to control this area regardless. I don't think they can. And for the record, before people say, what about Crimea? That's why I always talk about the difference between Crimea, how Crimea was annexed, and the historical relevance of Crimea for Russia, and the strategic importance of the military base of Sevastopol in Crimea, and how it was already loaned out to the Russian military regardless. Okay? Russia maintaining Crimea as a part of Russian soil and officially and permanently annexing it is entirely different than Russia trying to do so in even LPR and DPR.
Both on eastern Ukraine and on Crimea. My view is that's impossible, unrealistic.
The lack of progress on the battlefield has led some European diplomats to question the feasibility of Zelensky's war aims.
The expense to the European economies to provide weapons and equipment is starting to bite. They don't have that excess capacity, for one. They don't have the industrial capability to produce replacements, two. And three, as we, the United States, continue to press for them to meet their NATO obligations, to do all of that is a pretty tough call on the Europeans.
Another concern is population decline. A confidential Ukrainian estimate from earlier this year put the number of dead Ukrainian troops at 80,000 and the wounded at 400,000, according to people familiar with the matter. Western intelligence estimates of Russian casualties vary, with some putting the number of dead as high as nearly 200,000 and the wounded at around 400,000. To shore up its manpower on the battlefield, Russia is also looking to North Korean troops. The Pentagon recently said North Korea sent about 10,000 troops to Russia.
If you think about war, 90%, 95% of soldiers on the battlefield aren't on the front lines. They're cooking, they're in command posts, they're repairing trucks. That's why Ukraine conscripts from the top. Troubling, it is now the case that they're sending some of those older men into the trench lines. It's clear that Zelensky wants to protect the 18 to 25-year-old cohort because that's the future of Ukraine, both in available military if necessary, but really to rebuild the post-war economy that will come. Unfortunately, many of those are defecting or deserting. So in my mind, Zelensky's got a personnel issue, not only in terms of sheer numbers, but also in terms of support for the war among the military.
Another important factor is the new U.S. president-elect, Donald Trump. Trump has vowed to end the war quickly.
I think Zelensky is maybe the greatest salesman of any politician that's ever lived. Every time he comes to our country, he walks away with $60 billion.
Like, I think that's just Donald Trump leaning into the audience, being a room reader. I don't think that that is effectively him saying he's going to fucking leave Ukraine entirely defenseless. Like, I don't think that that's what that means at all. A lot of people hear that and they go, oh my God, he's going to give no more weapons to Ukraine. If that was the case, and if he was so fucking personally invested in Vladimir Putin and his success and his influence over Ukraine, he quite literally would have, when he was president, refused to send weapons. The only time he tried to go against Congress was when he got impeached for a perfect phone call, when he called up the Ukrainian officials and said, give me some dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, or else I will stop the weapons transfers. Outside of that, the Trump administration still very much continued to arm Ukrainian militias, to arm the Ukrainian groups and train them as well. If Donald Trump was if Donald Trump was having sex with Vladimir Putin in the way that a lot of people presented, he would not have done that. Like, he would have stopped it. He would have tried to interfere in the affairs of the State Department and their interest in Ukraine.
Looking ahead, General Kimmett sees a hard road for the Ukrainians.
There is little doubt in my mind that the Ukrainian armed forces could continue to stay.
Trump will abandon Ukraine. I do think Trump is in Putin's pocket. His cabinet says it all. What are you talking about? I just showed you Sebastian Gorka, his counterterrorism expert, literally say Donald Trump is going to send so many weapons to Ukraine if Russia doesn't come to the ceasefire negotiation table that it will make Biden look like peanuts. Donald Trump's cabinet picks say the exact opposite. He has a bunch of hawks, including Marco Rubio and many others that are tasked with, that have very openly talked about continuing the proxy war that America is interested in Ukraine. I think a lot of people are arguing from the same side without realizing, both liberals and Republicans alike. Republicans and liberals both think, like, for different reasons, Donald Trump is going to end the war in Ukraine. And I think that that is not the case because I think ultimately, I'm a huge fan, but Trump can't be trusted. No, I don't think Trump can be trusted either. I've never said that Trump can be trusted. My position on this is that the war in Ukraine has absolutely nothing to do with Ukrainian emancipation and everything to do with military Keynesianism. The idea that, like, we are propping up American manufacturing and giving fat defense contracts to our contractors to offload a lot of their older weapons, a lot of their older targeting systems into Ukraine. All right, Donald Trump is not gonna. I don't think Donald Trump is gonna look at that and be like, all right, we're gonna change the trajectory.
Intact and on the battlefield through 2025, through a year from now. But I think the political and diplomatic issues are going to overwhelm the battlefield issues.
From Financial Times. At several flashpoints across the 1,000-kilometer long front line, Ukraine's troops are enduring relentless Russian air and ground assaults. A commander of an artillery unit near Kurakhove, where the fighting is most intense, told the Financial Times on Monday that Russian troops were attacking from three sides. He and his troops are ready to pull back, he said, but we do not have the order from the top yet. Kurakhove and the city of 40 kilometers north are both critical logistical hubs for Ukraine's army and are largely destroyed. The coking plant on the outskirts of Pokrovsk that has also come under attack is the largest in Ukraine and is crucial to its steel manufacturing industry. CDS, the military think tank, estimated by December the front line will probably shift 30 to 35 kilometers west of its current position. Major General Dmytro Marchenko last month said that the Eastern Front was crumbling owing to shortages of ammunition and manpower. People are very exhausted. They simply cannot hold the fronts. They are on. Ukraine's problems, meanwhile, are worsening. This is from The Economist. Mainly because of manpower issues. The army is long out of willing recruits and its mobilization campaign is falling short, recruiting barely 2/3 of its target. A senior Ukrainian official says he is worried the situation may become irretrievable by the spring. An even bigger problem is the quality of the new recruits. Forrest, the battalion commander with the 65th Brigade, says the men being sent from Army headquarters are now mostly too old or unmotivated to be useful. All but a handful are over the age of 45. I'm being sent guys 50 plus with doctor's notes telling me they are too ill to serve, he says. Grigori admits he was as surprised as anyone when he was enlisted. He did not expect the officers to mobilize someone who was half blind. Unsurprisingly, he is still struggling with the physical demands. The average age of the Ukrainian military is 45. Sally Hemming says Rob Lee is a Russophobic propagandist. Okay, so when a senior fellow of the Foreign Policy Research Institute, who is not exactly pro-Russia, is openly recognizing the many material problems that the Ukrainian defense is facing that makes the situation untenable, that's when you got to fucking figure out that there has to be another alternative. No, that chatter is saying this person is anti-Russia, okay? When anti-Russia think tank guys that are tasked with American foreign policy are recognizing the situation on the ground, I don't know why people who are far removed from the consequences of the front lines are just in here being like, you know, no, this has to continue. The war must continue no matter what. Full tilt, full scale. And it's also getting to the point where like the majority population wants a ceasefire agreement to be put forth. So if someone is anti-Russia and still saying Ukraine can't win, then you should probably stop and think about that, is my point. Exactly. Yeah. At this stage, 52% of Ukrainians want a ceasefire. Is now the majority. Russia's invasion continuing at a time when support for Ukraine is waning is also making all of these like austerity crippled European populations more and more angry. Not angry in the direction of, you know, moving the battle against Russia, okay, but in the opposite direction. Now let's talk about the Romanian elections, because something crazy happened here. Right-wing Calin Georgescu.
To Romania next, and a political earthquake in the making. The first round of the presidential election saw a pro-Russia candidate claim the most votes, knocking the...
Ukrainians are not pro-Putin. The fuck? I didn't say that. I said Ukrainians, 52% of Ukrainians now, at least according to the latest estimates, want a ceasefire negotiation. I never said that Ukrainians are fucking pro-Putin. What the fuck? Why would they be pro-Putin? Putin is killing their fucking family members.
The pro-European Prime Minister out of the race in the process. Now, with nearly all of the votes counted, the far-right independent Calin Georgescu found himself with about 23% of the votes, with the centre-right candidate Elena Lasconi just behind. A runoff election will be held in 2 weeks to decide the winner. And joining me now from the Romanian capital, Bucharest, is political scientist Oana Valentina Suciu. Welcome to DW, Oana Valentina. Calin Georgescu came seemingly out of nowhere and knocked the pro-Western...
It's so crazy that just everyone is a right-winger, by the way. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's just like, it's now a heated battle between the far right and center right. Including in America, the political battle that just took place.
An incumbent out of this presidential race. Can you tell us a little bit more about what he stands for and why he's suddenly become so popular?
Well, first of all, he didn't really come out of nowhere because he's been quite active in the public space since the previous elections. His name has been associated with the one of the extremist far-right party, the Alliance for the Union of Romanians. What he stands for is what...
Uruguay just elected a social democrat versus a center-right candidate. Uruguay's leftist party, the Broad Front, has won presidential elections, defeated the ruling neoliberal government of President Lacalle Pou. The president-elect, Yamandu Orsi, is seen as the protege of Pepe Mujica, former president and leftist guerrilla fighter.
we call
yeah, South America is experiencing, with the exception of Argentina, but we don't really talk about Argentina anyway. But South America is experiencing like a social democratic resurgence for the most part, while seemingly many of the other countries firmly within the sphere of influence of America is experiencing central right to far right parties winning elections, and it's usually the far right that are gaining momentum.
Populist. He's very pro-Russian. He is anti-NATO, anti the European EU values, anti-democracy, in favor of.
I want to bring this back to American politics for a second, but I suspect that. Look, I don't know the exact situation in Romania, but I assume it's probably not that different than America, where people are angry and frustrated at the institutions after multiple decades of austerity. At least that is the case in a lot of Western European countries, where you're seeing a massive momentum and mobilization in the fascist and far-right groups. So I suspect that they're angry at neoliberal management of democracy. And they're experiencing like economic shocks from global inflation. Like we're living in the post-COVID world, basically, where a lot of the all the powder kegs that were waiting to explode is now finally exploding. Post-Cold War, post-neoliberal victory, neoliberalism becoming the global hegemonic attitude, with center-right leadership desperately trying to maintain its status, and usually, as liberalism is failing, fascists are coming in to point to all of the failures and saying, look, we're gonna blow this shit up. It's not doing right by you. We're gonna blow this shit up. And focusing on immigration, focusing on marginalized populations and how they are causing these problems, and making the population even more reactionary, even more right wing, by beefing up isolationist, nationalist sentiment.
Strong-handed leader. Some of his messages refer to Romania not respecting the rules and the regulations that is supposed to respect within the European Union and NATO. And last but not least, he is very much against Romania being a NATO member and paying its share of duties towards this organization.
More on that in a moment. But just, unlike many countries, people will be looking at Romania and saying this is a country that has so far resisted some of these nationalist appeals that you describe Mr. Georgescu as having. What's changed?
Yes and no. Romania has been resisting extreme populism, like the one represented by Mr. Georgescu. However, we have to bear in mind the results of the previous two rounds of elections, the parliamentarian elections and the European elections, where the Alliance for the Union of Romanians that I have been mentioning before won quite a sizable number of seats, both in the national parliament and in the European Parliament. So extreme far-right movements are not something new in the Romanian political milieu. They might have changed their names, but they have been existing ever since the fall of communism in December 1989. Călin Georgescu, in spite of the shock that many of the Western democratic inclined Romanian citizens think, Călin Georgescu is not something new in our political public space.
And you've described his sort of pro-Russia views, how he is anti-NATO, anti the European Union. If he is elected in 2 weeks, then what would that mean for Romania in partnerships, international partnerships like the European Union and NATO?
Well, let's remember that in the meantime, we have parliamentarian elections. Because we have 3 rounds of consecutive elections, that would be something extremely bad and dangerous for the position that Romania is holding right now, especially since we are one of the countries that has the longest borders with Ukraine. So first of all, that would mean the unconditional support that the Romanian state and Romanian government have been providing to Ukraine. This is the first thing that we thought of. In the long term, a potential Georgescu's election as the president of Romania would probably mean a complete resetting of the whole political system. We don't know exactly what to expect if we are to take seriously the kind of messages that he has been spreading in the last.
People are saying he was like in favor of Nazis in World War II, and he's like a fucking serial anti-vaxxer. Seems like Romania is getting a healthy dose of Americanism, baby. Oh, he praised the Holocaust orchestrators. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. He literally called Ion Antonescu, the prime minister of Romania during the Holocaust, a national hero. Jesus Christ.
2 months on certain social networks, that would probably mean getting much closer to Kremlin that many of the Romanian citizens would like or even believe in.
I feel like Holocaust denial is a prerequisite for right-wing guys. No, it's not even Holocaust denial. It's Holocaust support. Oh my God. Robert F. Kennedy will go to Romania. I don't know if this is real or not. Don't you think people are inherently racist? All these far-right figures popping up and winning by landslides? No, man. I don't think anybody is. Do you think a baby is born with like racist opinions? Like, what are you, fucking crazy? No. We are all susceptible to our material conditions. Okay? Social conditioning is born out of the material realities. In times of economic instability, people that try to maintain the current order of business will always lose out to people that say, no, we're going to shake it up. And because the entire movement of movers and shakers on the leftist side have been wiped clean by, in many instances, NATO. I can't speak for Romania specifically, but that's usually how it worked in Western Europe. And with centrist, center-right parties constantly caving and capitulating to right-wing framing on issues in a desperate attempt to maintain neoliberalism, you end up having this resurgence of fascist movements because at least one party is recognizing the anger that people have. The other party is saying, no, you need to shut the fuck up about this anger. Neo-legionnarism is a neo-fascist movement in Romania that emerged in the 1990s following the fall of communism in the country. It is endorsed by a series of organizations that claim to be the successors of the Iron Guard, whose followers were known as legionnaires. Founded by Cornelia Zelensky Kodronau in 1927, its main characteristics include anti-Semitism, Eastern Orthodoxy, ethnic nationalism, and mysticism. This is a unique situation. Literally nobody knew who he is. He appeared overnight. Russian interference, likely. Isn't this what happened in Moldova too? Moldova, Mama Liga, where the fuck you at? Georgia has moved in the direction of having pro-Russian or Russian sympathetic leadership. Moldova has had a similar movement, and now Romania is undergoing Moldova's pro-Russia guy lost. Sorry. And again, a lot of people are shocked because half of them have zero clue about this guy. He apparently rose up in like the last month. This makes the hard right guy Romanians were scared of look like a lib. My family and I were watching the elections. Romanians are typically very patriotic. My parents grew up in the Eastern Bloc era and saw the revolutions take down Kolsko. My dad was like, the Romanian people have woken up and finally chosen an independent. And then I had to talk to him about how this guy advocated for the legionary Romanian officials as martyrs fighting for the country. He had like a very nationalistic idea of some of those people he was condoning. and he wasn't fully aware of the genocide. Romanians have a lot of historical heroes that were conservative, and Ceausescu. The nationalism is similar to the U.S. My dad thought that an independent rising up would be good and didn't understand that this guy idolized the genocidal legionnaires from the 1930s. They have a very rose-colored glasses perspective on anyone who contributed to the creation of Romania, even dating back to erasing the brutal Roman conquest of the Dacians. A lot of old literature is also very nationalistic and populist. Yeah, he advocated for the guy who was directly responsible for the wiping of the Jewish population, even before the Nazis collaborated with them. He wrote part of in one of the RFK Jr. books. Yeah, it seems like he's also like a fucking anti-vaxxer, holistic guy. It seems like that probably played a role as well. His wife is a naturopath. Oh my God. What is happening, dude? Yo, the country, every country is cooked. A lot of younger people wanted the center-right Lasconi to win, at least in my area where I was born. Oh my God, I remember this. I think I remember this. Presidential candidate Kalin Georgescu went to a frozen lake in the Carpathian Mountains during the COVID pandemic to tell people to go out and strengthen their immune system instead of taking the vaccines. No, Putin is not a vaccine skeptic at all. Are you kidding me? Putin is like a zero COVID guy. Putin is literally the guy that goes to the DSA meetings and is like, if everyone doesn't wear a mask in here, this is literally a Holocaust happening. Are you kidding me? Do you not remember during COVID what he was doing? He was scared shitless of COVID. He's a massive hypochondriac. He's not like, he doesn't fuck around with that shit at all. Yeah, dude. This motherfucker is the only person who's abiding by like social distancing rules, okay? Are you kidding me? Are those nuke buttons? I don't think so. Why isn't he making the rest of them distance? Because he don't give a fuck if they die. Anyway, not good. Just so you get an idea how topsy-turvy Romanian politics are, the center-right candidate is the most progressive one we had. Yeah. Oh, the true scale of modern nuclear weapons? I don't want to watch that.
Kalin Georgescu, the far-right nationalist leader and political outlier, has just ridden roughshod over Romania's political establishment.
Oh my God, bro. Oh my God.
Mobilizing support on TikTok, with videos like this going viral, he has won the first round of the Romanian presidential election. The result has sent shockwaves across Romania and Europe. Mr. Georgescu ran a Romania First campaign. He has openly praised Russian President Vladimir Putin, is a critic of NATO, and has called for an end to aid to Ukraine. He left the country's far-right party after they criticized his pro-Russian anti-NATO stance, and has been called out for describing a Romanian World War II pro-Nazi leader as a national hero. With the country facing economic hardship, the vote is seen as a rejection of the status quo, a disquiet Georgescu has capitalized on.
The economic insecurity imposed on the Romanian people for 35 years turned into insecurity for the political parties. The Romanian people cried peace, and they cried out loud.
With no candidate securing 50% of the vote, he will now face the Liberal leader Elena Lasconi in a runoff in 2 weeks' time. Well, we can talk now to Sir Tony Brenton, who's a former ambassador to Russia. If you're sitting in Ukraine, are you looking at the ground around you and thinking it's not as firm as you thought?
Well, yes, certainly. I mean, the war doesn't seem to be going very well for them. The election of Trump has been presented as a disaster. It's not entirely clear, but it may be.
Hello,
and
viewers.
You've just pointed to this election in Romania, which actually succeeds the rise of the far right in a fair number of EU countries. And the far right in general is much more sympathetic to Russia than to Ukraine.
So any idea that were America to carry through with any sort of threat to scale down its support for Ukraine would result in Europe stepping into the breach is looking a lot less certain, isn't it?
That's a very good question. And I think European leaders are discussing it rather intensely at the moment. And the question is, do they have the adequate force to fill a US-sized gap in support for Ukraine? And even if they have, can they coordinate adequately to do it? I don't know the answer to that question. I detect a lot of anxiety on the part of everybody. The talks between France and the UK yesterday were an illustration of determination to at least test out the possibility.
Can you sort of interpret the British position for us for a moment? I mean, is it as straightforward as it seems.
Does your stance on Russia make you far right? What's my stance on Russia that would make me far right? I don't think my stance on Russia is similar to any number of these different ghouls and goblins. The problem is a lot of people that are pro-Russia are not going to openly state that they're pro-Russia because, you know, then a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck are you saying? But that's politicians in general. They're not going to fucking openly admit their desires. No politician is going to be like, we want to kill the poor. You know, they're going to say, no, we want to democratize or liberalize our economy. We need to cut the red tape and deregulate.
That Britain will support Ukraine to the end and believes that Ukraine should fight its way to victory.
Yes, I think it is. We were in the lead when the war started. We've been in the lead in getting the EU and the wider West to supply Ukraine with weapons and all the rest of it. I think British ministers and the British establishment rather pride themselves on the role that we've played. The downside is that we are now very high on Russia's list of #1 enemies. And for example, this unfortunate man, James Anderson, who's just fallen into Russian hands, we have rather limited means to get him out. And there must be a certain amount of pessimism. Frankly, as I watch the atmosphere, which I do quite closely here, I watched a number of distinguished commentators like Lord Dannett move away from the flat position, we must back Ukraine.
Is the UK an exception to the far right swing? Fuck no. The UK is exactly the same method. The UK has a completely captive right-wing Labour leadership now that is creating the perfect conditions for the Reform Party, just like out and about fascists, to take over next time elections are held. You'll see. It's like every single one of these countries are basically trying to extend the reign of center-right neoliberalism to the best of their ability. And if they do not change trajectory, and it seemingly is not changing trajectory at all, they are going to allow fascism to manifest. Yeah, I saw reports that Nigel Farage is now more popular than Kid Starver.
In all terms, to a much more nuanced position. Yes, we need to get talks going. Yes, Ukraine needs to talk. And yes, Ukraine needs to think about making territorial compromises to bring the war to an end.
So what do you make of these rumours coming out of France, that there have been discussions between Britain and France about sending troops to Ukraine, possibly in some sort of training role, or who knows what else?
Yeah, now, we need an awful lot of troops in Ukraine in order to make a serious difference to the situation on the ground. Things feel to me to be moving slightly too rapidly against Ukraine for...
It's so funny because every EU chatter a couple years back used to always joke and be like, oh, we're watching America fall apart, haha. And I kept telling them, like, motherfucker, this shit's about to destroy. This shit is about to, in a couple of years, absolutely destroy the European Union. I kept saying it over and over again. I was like, bro, what's happening here in America? Like last election cycle, a shit ton of EU chatters would like always be like, man, your country is surely a clown show. And I was like, bro, I'm telling you, it's going to happen to you too. At that point, the nascent AfD and Le Pen's like popularity was only beginning. Look at them now. And it's not just like Le Pen herself. It's the movement that she represents.
A serious training role to make a huge amount of difference now. And my instinct is that we are on the route towards negotiations. It's pretty clear the sort of landing area that those...
But even if Le Pen goes to prison, it still doesn't change much.
Negotiations are going to be pointing towards, which include Ukrainian territorial concessions. And if Trump plays his cards right, he will achieve a major diplomatic triumph in getting us there, ending the war, which Biden has solidly backed for the last 2.5 years, and will feel pretty good about himself. Now, the trick, however, is to do that without completely abandoning Ukraine. The way things are going, Ukraine will come out of this, yes, perhaps having agreed to agreed to a ceasefire, which leaves a lot of land in Russian hands, even though they don't formally concede it, and leaves Ukraine, feeling rather bruised by it all, but also leaves Ukraine as a Western-oriented state linked to the West, prospects, not immediately, but in the longer term, of NATO membership, of EU membership. So essentially, actually, having won the war. But we're not there yet. And a lot of this is going to depend upon, how can I put this, Trump's diplomatic sophistication as the negotiations get going. And it has to be said, the diplomatic sophistication is not something that Trump is famous for.
Tony Brenton, thank you very much indeed.
Fucking cooked. Also, here's some breaking news. Donald Trump is going to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
Transition is going on. In the meantime, the president-elect is weighing in on what's going to happen on January 20th. Just moments ago on a Truth Social, the president-elect wrote this. As everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan is coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people. It seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all the illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power.
Wait, these goddamn Canadians, dude. These goddamn Canadians, they're invading our borders, our beautiful borders. Where my country gone? Here's the longer piece. You just said Canadians are pouring through. Oh my God, he did it. The mad lad. Oh my God, another meme. Another meme has become reality. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is amazing. Build the northern wall. Let's go. Let's fucking go, dude. About damn time. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico composed of thousands of people seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. He just invented a caravan too. As one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it's time for them to pay a very big price. I've had many talks with China about the massive amounts of drugs, in particular fentanyl, being sent to the United States, but to no avail. Representatives of China told me that they would institute their maximum penalty, that of death, for any drug dealers caught doing this. But unfortunately, they never followed through, and drugs are pouring into our country, mostly through Mexico, at levels never seen before. Until such time as they stop, we will be charging China an additional 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on all of their many products coming into the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boys, just want to say good luck to the future of this country. I feel like if implemented, these tariffs are going to laser prices in the opposite direction. Like I can't understand it. It feels like he's just purposefully trying to destroy the economy. I'm telling you now, the fucking walls are not to keep Mexicans out. It's to keep your ass in, okay? Very quickly, you will find that it turns out the walls were not there to keep the Guatemalans out. Oh no, they were to keep you in here, okay? Holy shit. What a spectacular future. Oh my God. Incredible.
To easily solve this long simmering problem, we hereby demand that they use this power. Until such time they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price. He went on to add that he is also adding 10% to all products from China if they don't stop.
Also, weak sauce that he's given 10% to China, but 25% to Canada and Mexico, two of America's most valuable trade partners. Oh my God. I think it's supposed to be 25 plus 10. Oh, he's adding. Oh, he's doing. Oh my God. Wait, so China gets 35%. How much of that is trade for America? It's got to be near 50%. Like if you compile Canada, Mexico, and China, Like it's probably almost half of all American trade at that point. List of largest trading partners in the United States. Oh, they said they were going to do that to the European Union too. Donald Trump is a J.D. Pons style permanent first world genocidist, it seems. He said, no more treats. No more treats for you, fatty. It's almost half. Oh my God. No. Oh my God. Oh no. It's 45%. I was right. Oh, this is so stupid. Like, this is, people will say, Hasan, how are you like laughing about this? But it's like, it's so completely out of my hands. Will that also apply to the electric power that the USA gets from Canada? I don't know. 45% is not 50%. I said almost 50%. Okay, calm down. In 2021, the U.S. increased imports of oils, minerals, lime, and cement from Canada from $60.3 billion in 2020 to $105.3 billion, an increase of 74%. In 2021, the imports of oils, minerals, lime, and cement from Canada constituted almost half of the total U.S. imports of these commodities. We've already described how tariffs work, right? Like, I think everybody here, at least now at this point, understands how it works. Like, it's a fee that companies that are importing stuff are going to have to pay to the government, and therefore they're going to make the cost of goods that much higher for the average American. They're going to carry over the cost. They're not going to like eat away at their profits, eat away at their profit margins. It's going to make every single thing more expensive. So it's basically a sales tax. No, dude, China doesn't pay the tariffs. What are you talking about? Shut up. That's not real. No, why would they pay for the tariff?
We're going to tariff you. Tweet. You want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to tariff you. China, if you're going to allow this stuff to get sold in our country, largely produced in China, we're going to add another 10% to your share. We are going to cost your countries, your economies. We're going to cost your businesses billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you think you're going to poison Americans, it's not going to happen. You're not going to destroy our youth. You're not going to destroy our society. You're not going to destroy our families. You're not going to do it. It's going to cost you. I'm going to put an end to it. Laura, when my father sent that 20 minutes ago, I literally cheered out loud. Their tweet. You want?
This is crazy. I run a manufacturing shop in New Jersey. We build circuit breakers, switchgear for generators. The breakers we buy are built in Mexico. Our main enclosure manufacturers in Canada, and China is the third largest copper producer in the world. I'm Brian Kilme. I don't understand. Like, do they legitimately think that China's going to pay for it or something? Like, I don't. Like, how would China have the capacity to pay for it? Do you think that they're just going to fucking give money to the people that are importing it, or do you think they're going to cut costs to even though they haven't? Like, what are they? How are they thinking that this process works? Hasan, don't you remember the hater video we watched? Most people don't think at all. It's true, but it's so funny being Canadian right now, being in the Canadian government, being like, what? Drugs are coming over our border? What are you saying? Like, what? There's a mass influx of migrants fleeing Canada into America? What? Like, why do tariffs raise prices but corporate taxes don't? First of all, when have we increased the corporate tax rate? You mean to say, why don't prices decrease when corporate tax rates decrease? If that's your question, then yes, that would be a good question to ask economists. It seemingly never goes in that direction. But as far as like a corporate tax versus tariffs, it makes sense. You can move certain things around, but a complete tariff on all of the raw materials necessary will, of course, increase the cost. Like, taxes on the corporate side are coming in after the fact. It's coming off of your profits. It's coming off of your the revenue generated. Tariffs are not. Tariffs are just raw goods, materials necessary for production. It's just making the production more costly. It's that simple. What the fuck? Also, holy fuck, dude. Look at this. 73% of overall cable news audience's prime time is watching Fox News. MSNBC is getting 16%. CNN's getting 11%. Shit. Yeah, I've said this before as well. I think they want to cut income tax as a substitute. I like that the dumbasses over at Fox News basically kept crying about mainstream media, and then they cried themselves into being the only mainstream media outlet. And it's still funny because like right-wingers still complain. They still talk about the overrepresentation of libtards in mainstream news and shit. About 25% of the lumber used in the U.S. is Canadian. It'll kill home builders. If 45% of U.S. imports were increased by 35%, it would raise the cost of goods in total approximately by $71.34 billion. That's $71.34 billion that the rich don't need to be taxed. That's so crazy. What is this? Warfare against more than half the world usually turns out fine. Well, at a certain point, the quantitative shift engenders a qualitative shift. And if you're imposing the siege on yourself, but the extraordinary nature of U.S. hegemony means we are not quite there. I don't imagine that people with any idea about how any of this will actually let Trump impose the moron China tariffs he loves to talk about. But if perchance he somehow gets that done, we might find out about all this sooner. What is this? Alarm about sanctions' rise has reached the highest levels of the U.S. government. Some senior administration officials have told President Biden directly that the overuse of sanctions risks making the tool less valuable. If you remember, we were ringing the alarm bells about the sanctions already early on, but of course, Jeff over at WAPO did a fantastic piece on America's sanctions regimes skyrocketing and basically creating an entire universe of countries that are completely outside of the sphere of influence of America because they had to basically create a secondary market for themselves. Turns out if you fucking sanction half the planet, then you basically have created half of the fucking planet's new market. You force them into a secondary market. Holy shit. Yeah, here is
this is democracy.
I mean, we've covered this before. The Washington Post investigation was called Money War, and Jeff Stein is the person who conducted this investigation. It seems like this is Financial Times though. Anyway, and yet despite recognition that the volume of sanctions may be excessive, U.S. officials tend to see each individual action as justified, making it hard to stop the trend. The United States is imposing sanctions at a record-setting pace again this year, with more than 60% of all low-income countries now under some form of financial penalty, according to a Washington Post analysis. What? Senator Marco Rubio, China, Russia, and Iran are evading U.S. sanctions by using alternative financial systems. Introduced a bill which would ensure these regimes are held accountable as they attempt to bypass our laws. They don't know it's illegal to have bilateral deals without my permission. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. I don't think you understand what you're doing. What you're doing is illegal. What you're supposed to do is die. What you're supposed to do is just fucking keel over and die. Oh, that article is from WAPO. Sorry. Okay. That's illegal. Yeah, it's the I consent to. Isn't there someone you forgot to ask meme playing itself out? All of this spells trouble for America's hegemonic superpower status in the world, by the way. But yeah, when you sanction the world, when you sanction the entire world, at the end of the day, you know, that means you are left alone. And the reality of the matter is, while the United States of America is the largest consumption engine on the planet and still plays a pretty big role in the global marketplace, still plays a ginormous role in the global marketplace, I think this kind of sanctions regime coming, not even sanctions, but this kind of tariffs regime coming from the United States of America is also literally, it's JD Pawn shit, dude. I'm telling you, Donald Trump is doing permanent first world genocide. Maybe the MAGA communists were right. He is. He's an accelerationist. JD Pawn Don. He's just saying, fuck it, YOLO. It's time. It's time for a new empire to come in and fix the situation. Yeah, the MAGA communists were right, okay? The MAGA communists were secretly in Trump's ear. He is JD Pawn. Trump is saying, America must suffer. America must suffer for the endless bloodshed that it has caused in the third world, okay? The revolutionary of the third world must be harnessed. The time is now. Amerifats must die. No more treats. Billions will be billions will lose out on their treats. It's crazy.
Sending fentanyl and products, drug products through Mexico. That is in addition to the tariffs already.
Tariffs are not supposed to be used as a punitive measure, right? The ideal situation is to use them while also beefing up manufacturing. They encourage a return to American products, but we're not getting that part, are we? Yes. And you can also do that for like raw materials. Like there's just shit that's not here. You know what I mean? Like, what are you supposed to do? Not only do we not have manufacturing, but like, it also doesn't make sense if you just don't have certain raw materials and you're just slapping a tariff onto it because you're mad. Like, what are you supposed to do? What the fuck? Yeah, bananas, coffee, avocado, lithium. What do you? Well, I mean, I guess lithium. There's places. It's just gonna be devastating for the American environment too. That's the other aspect of this. Like, we have trees. It's not like we don't have fucking trees. Let's say we beef up the lumber industry to make up for the additional demand that we're not getting, or to make up for the additional supply that we're not getting from Canada. Okay, now you're just like wiping out entire fucking forests in America. You know what I mean? Like, everything is bad. I don't know how else to describe it. I do not see a good way out of this, is what I mean. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let's see the YouTube content wasteland.
Last month, I started a video series in response to a video called Why I Hate Bread Tubers from the YouTuber Rob's Media. I didn't end up finishing it because towards the end of the series, I had a change of heart in the direction that I want to take this channel. There are things happening in the world right now that I think are important and not getting enough coverage on YouTube, namely the genocide in Gaza. While I had previously covered it on my channel, that coverage was interspersed between internet drama videos and making fun of weird guys. And that's all fine, right? But after spending a month making videos exclusively about Gaza, I discovered that I really do not want to talk about anything else. Not right now, at least. There's too much suffering, too many lies justifying that suffering, and not enough people talking about it on YouTube. For this reason, I have no desire to return to online drama content. I've been working every day, 12 hours a day for the last 3 weeks on a big video that's related to media coverage of the Gaza genocide, and I have a few others in the chamber. I'm excited for you all to see them. With that said, though, there are some loose ends in the drama sphere that I want to tie up first, starting with Rob's Media. Rob responded to my videos, so that's what we're going to look at today. Hopefully it'll be a nice break from the really heavy stuff as well if that's been too much for you to watch. So that's the plan. But first, real quick, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Lelo. Lelo makes some really high quality bedroom equipment for going bonkers on yourself and others.
Massive
sexual
L
style.
haircut. Oh, shut up. He looks good. Noah's always been a babe, okay? He's always been a fucking hottie.
Lelo was kind enough to send me the Tor 3 and the F1S V3, and these things are amazing. The Tor 3...
Wait, what the fuck? Hey, yo, okay. Whoa. What? I can't show this. I don't know if I can show this. Okay. I didn't even realize what the fuck he was selling. No, I think that is a cock ring. Anyway, Noah Lelo 10 for 10% off. Okay. God damn. This man, dude, it's a self-suck toy and a cock ring.
Okay. Back to the video. So Rob's Media responded with a video called Responding to Noah Samson, which makes sense as a name for the video. Love the thumbnail, looking good. It's another pretty long video, so I will need to break this up into parts again. Sorry. Again, I got other stuff to put out in the meantime, but don't worry, Rob. I won't forget you. Never forget. Rob.
So I've been wanting to respond to Noah Samson's coverage of my Why I Hate Bread Tubers video, which he decided to split into multiple parts for some reason. Unlike him, I don't like wasting my audience's time, so I'll only be going over the main egregious points Noah made. I'll link all of his videos below. Don't harass the guy, obviously. I'm linking them for full transparency.
I like that, linking the videos. I think it's good practice. More YouTubers should do that. Academic. As for the comment about me wasting people's time, you know, whether it's one big video or chapters, I'd be wasting their time regardless. The content itself is a waste of time. I am sorry though if you feel like your time was wasted. Some of my viewers felt the same way and just sat the series out or unsubscribed, which is totally cool. I get it. I just let the market decide, and the market told me to stop making them.
What really caught my attention of Noah's responses is the downright slanderous stuff he said about YouTuber, streamer, and fat British guy Chud Logic. In my original video, I brought up this infamous Noah tweet where he calls Chud a pedo and insists he should be brutally killed. I'll address this tweet more later, but let's focus on the important part. Noah is outright trying to paint Chud as a pedo, something no other YouTuber agrees with.
Okay, so the first point that Rob brings up is the Chud Logic allegations. So,
yo, what's the Chinese sexy game, by the way? While we're watching this video, let me let that cook real quick. What's it called? The dating sim. What's the Chinese dating sim? Stop saying Genshin Impact. Shut the fuck up. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh, Mao Zedong. Okay, good one, dude. What is it? Love is all around. Is that what it is? It's like the 5 hearts in under one roof. Love and 4 hearts. Is it love is all around for real? Is it love is all around? Actually, that's the one. 4 hearts is Korean. I already did that. Hi, chat. If you like the Chinese dating games, here are some English subtitles. Also, I know Jason already played 3 of them. Love is all around. Try and love. Knowledge or no lady. My Destiny girl. Shadow's been asking to play this game for weeks now. Love in the room. Love is all around DLC. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, look at all these games that I must avoid. Look at all these games that I will be avoiding. I will not be. Wait, what? What do you? I will certainly not be. Chat might be saying that I'm, I see a lot of movement in the chat like, oh, dude, you're downloading it. It's like, I'm not downloading it, and I'm certainly not installing it. Love is all around. I mean, I would never do that. Right here, mom. Okay. Steam tags are FMV and dating simulator to find games like 5 hearts. I would never do that. I would never do that in a million years. Okay. It's clear to me that it's clear that I would never. Everybody knows I mistakenly clicked on the previous dating sim, and we just kind of looked at it to see what's not good.
In my video, I retracted the accusation that Chud Logic was a pedophile, but I did it in sort of a backhanded way. I'll play that now.
So yes, technically you guys got me. He's not a pedophile, he's an ephebophile. He's not a pedophile, he's an ephebophile, and a weirdo and a groomer.
So yeah, I do want to unequivocally retract that he's a pedophile, that I called him a...
Wait, that's what everyone was mad about? Like people were bullying Noah Samson into doing actually it's a ephebophile shit? Yeah, we'll look at all endings of this game in a second. What the fuck?
A pedophile. I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry to Chud Logic for doing that. I got some feedback from CSA survivors about how we shouldn't throw that word around without evidence because it cheapens the word's meaning, and I think that makes perfect sense. I've always loved internet humor like this, extreme hyperbolic insults, like quote tweeting a Zionist that's mocking Palestinians being killed and saying, hey chat, someone should probably beat this guy to death with hammers. Or in Chud's case, he was putting scantily clad photos on the thumbnails of videos that were scrutinizing sexual assault allegations. Hey guys, we should melt this pedo guy in a cast iron cauldron. It's ridiculous. It's a product of Twitter culture, and it's always been hilarious to me. What I've learned over time, though, is that doing this is not worth it. It's not worth the trade-off in punishment. I got banned from Twitter for this and other similar statements. My cope for almost 2 years now has been that I was leaving anyways, and that Elon broke the site and made it Nazi.
Why didn't he just demand that he be unbanned by doing the trick, which is woke liberals canceled me? Because if you say woke liberals cancel me, it's a 100% unban rate.
10 billion times better. You should follow me on there if you want. However, having access to my audience on other platforms is genuinely pretty helpful, especially when it comes to the more serious political side of things, like the stuff I've been covering lately. And it would be nice to be able to talk about it with, my audience and the people I know. But thanks to stuff like this, I don't have that anymore, which sucks. So to anyone that wants to do content online, as funny as it may feel to post stuff like this or make hyperbolic death threats, as fun as the word pedophile...
What is this? Wait, what? What was that? It said downloaded? I don't know what that was. Damn it. Must have been a virus again. I think the hackers hacked into my computer and downloaded something for me.
File is to throw around at people you don't like. If you don't have any real evidence to go off of, then just keep that offline. Anyways, let's continue.
In early 2021, a Twitter user made a thread detailing her experience of Chud the year prior. She said she was a fan of his, and he'd messaged her first with this glorious image. Ayo, is that Mutahar?
I think Rob is trying to make a joke here and say that this guy looks like Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers, but these guys look nothing alike. I think Rob just identified their one common feature, brown, and did a bit off of that, but come on, it's not even remotely close.
Wait, so there's actual YouTubers out there that are just making long, convoluted YouTube videos defending people who are actually ephebophiles and groomers and shit? Actually, is everybody okay? What is going on? Is everybody all right? What's happening? I'm so happy to just be completely oblivious to that side of the world. This is why I don't look at any of the fucking drama slop usually.
So that's crazy.
They'd send messages back and forth for months, usually being flirty or inappropriate. Sure, they're weird and creepy, but you can say that for any leaked sexual exchanges.
I don't know about that one. I think you can definitely sext without being weird or creepy. I think suggesting otherwise is kind of a self-report. Maybe what he means here is that it's, you know, cringe seeing people horny texting outside of the...
What is Destiny doing? He's just like reviewing the... Like, is he doing like peta review? Like, what the fuck is this? It's just like a streamlined... What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing pedophilia review. It turns out, you know, it's actually a phobophilia. Is that what it is?
Being flirty or inappropriate.
He judges their groomer is? Okay, that's nice.
People horny texting outside of the context in which they were horny, which I generally agree with, but weird and creepy every time? Nah, man.
At one point, Chud says that he doesn't want to flirt with someone who's a young adult, with his limit being someone half his age plus 7. Chud was 34 at the time, meaning the youngest he'd flirt with is 24.
Like she said herself, oh, I said that I was 18. I never really made a big deal out of this idea that I was some sort of pedophile, but that became the narrative. That became the narrative that grew up off the back of it.
This point is odd from Rob. Chud was under the impression that this girl was 18, but if his age limit was supposed to be 24, then he broke his own rule, right? Like, he knew it was wrong, but he did it anyways. That was my original point. Rob doesn't argue against that, though. He actually just follows it up by immediately accusing the girl of trying to ruin Chud's career.
So yeah, this Haley person lied about their age, and is now playing victim while trying to ruin Chud's career.
I think because he and others disagree that Chud was being predatory at all, then that must mean that she was acting maliciously by making these accusations. This is unfair, in my opinion, because when we read through what Haley actually said, it seems pretty clear from the tone and from what she said that that's not what was happening. She starts...
Like, what's his career? Is he posting on Twitter career? Like, what the fuck? What is... I can't believe you came after the career of a epic poster on Twitter. Like, what?
Starts by giving her reasoning that she feels morally obligated to say something for the safety of other young people in her community. Before making any accusations, the first thing she does is admit to fault about lying about her age and posting not suitable for work content in the Discord. She calls these mistakes and apologizes for them. She also communicates that she feels ashamed for even having to share this exchange. She admits with embarrassment to feeling special and attached, but still feeling uncomfortable because of his messages. And she also admits to knowing from the start that Chud was in his mid-30s. She ends by apologizing to Chud for going back on her word to not leak the messages, but reiterates what she said at the start, that she is doing this with the goal of protecting other young people. So what about this thread communicates ill intent?
Okay, open and shut case. Who is defending this? There are people who are making YouTube videos defending this? Like, what the fuck? They're actually, they're blaming a minor. They're actively blaming a minor for like, being groomed by a fucking 34-year-old man? Like, what? Who's doing this?
I feel like you can disagree with these...
Why are people making YouTube videos? Like, why are they not embarrassed to say these things?
Charges without demonizing this person by assuming that she was acting maliciously, by assuming that she was just trying to...
Yeah, because she lied about her age is really dumb. DiddyTube.
Ruin this guy's life for no reason. Watching back some of the responses at the time further illustrates this point, I think. Take Destiny, for example. Before even reading all of the messages, he starts out by framing this accuser in relation to other accusers that only make accusations out of regret.
Somebody flirting with you and like typing sexual messages at you is not grooming. What the fuck do you guys think grooming is? What is grooming to you? It sounds to me like every single attempt at flirting is grooming to you people. That's
What is going on, bro? Is it only grooming if it's a content creator that is not in your orbit? I guess that's the standard, right? It's like if it's like a Minecrafter or like someone you don't like, then it's grooming. If it's a 34-year-old man talking to a 17-year-old girl in his Discord who's a fan and is like getting them to send revealing, compromising pictures and stuff like that, that's not grooming technically because you like that content creator. Is that how it works? It's only grooming against his enemies.
Fucking disgusting. You guys are dumb as fucking. Like, every single attempt at flirting is grooming to you people. That's fucking disgusting. You guys are dumb as fuck. If you think you don't know what grooming means, just don't use it as a word. Jesus Christ. Grooming equals guy hit on me, and later on I decided that I wasn't really into it.
When he actually goes through the thread, he reads them mockingly, setting it up so that whatever comes next will seem trivial.
First, if you are related to me, I beg you, don't read this. I don't want this. I don't want to carry the shame of what I let happen to me be in your minds. Jesus, fuck, this person must have been fucked. Wow, we're about to read some crazy shit. We're about to read some crazy shit in this thread.
He ends by concluding.
You do the same shit when he needs to waste money on something stupid with the hands in the head for like 4 days after? What? I do the same shit when he needs to waste money on something stupid? There's been a moment where I've like defended, oh, you do the same shit as my dad when he needs to waste money on something stupid with the hands in the head for like 4 days after.
Concluding that Chud did nothing wrong.
You didn't invite this by lying that you were a year older or anything else. He knew better. This is on him. No. First of all, no one's making you lie about your fucking age. Fuck you. There is no pressure. There is no fucking like, man, I was just so pressured to introduce myself to a Discord server and lie that I was like, fuck you.
Whether you agree with his conclusion or not, his presentation of the accusations assumed malice from the start. Noteworthy here is Destiny's hypothetical about what he actually considers to be a real example of wrongdoing.
Does it matter? A 30-year-old shouldn't be talking to an 8-year-old? Like, I mean, like, who cares? Who are you even to judge this? Who the fuck cares that much? Like, if this guy was like trying to like abduct her from like a fucking high school or some shit, sure.
Oh, okay. I'm glad that Destiny is anti-abduction. Got it. Okay, that's a separate. He has a separate standard. You know, leading up to that point is fine. It's just actually when you cross that threshold. Yeah. Someone in the chat said it's only grooming if it's from the grooming region of France. You don't understand. You're only a Nazi if you are in the year 1938. Okay, and a card-carrying member of the National Socialist Party. And even then, you also have to, on top of that, say Heil Hitler. Otherwise, you're not a Nazi at all. And 30-year-old talking to an 18-year-old is how his last marriage started, so it makes sense. Yeah, that's not wrong, I guess.
Sure, maybe, but I mean, if you're all in a Discord room, like,
I guess technically he's consistent. His moral systems are intact.
As long as they're 18 plus, like, are we?
D did this with the exact kind of shit that 3 other women, including a former close friend of mine. Additional trauma he created was inhumane. What is this? 34-year-old man who cheats on his wife with 19-year-olds on Discord because his wife won't play out his sick fantasies. How do you feel about age play stuff? What the fuck? Oh, this is him taking credit for the Fox News thing. Proof of age, the person he sent this to. I really don't think she would call you her soulmate and not want you to be with her. Damn, we probably won't talk anymore if you do get into a relationship with her, lol. I mean, we can talk. It just wouldn't be sexual. You're super young, but you've been a fun person to chat with. Honestly, generally prefer if anyone 20 messages me, we don't end up talking for more than a day or two. I'm glad that makes me happy since I've been so stressed. Agitated today. I haven't come at all. Maybe tomorrow I can send you a final big cum shot vid, lol. If I'm not too stressed about the coming day, I don't know. Wait, what? Oh, if anyone under 20 messages me, we don't end up talking for more than a day or two. You haven't seen these yet? No. What is age play? Like with a 19-year-old? What is a age play if the person is under the age of 20 at that point? Shit got released a few days ago. How did people have access to these messages? The 19-year-old leaked it? What the fuck? Someone said he wants the role play as her being 75 years old. That'd be kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this doesn't seem that. But I'm imagining a Discord groomer, cake streamer being like, guys, my kink is age play, and I really need you to call yourself Bertha. Talk about how your knees ain't what it used to be. I'm Gertrude. Come on, Grandma, you gotta take your Alzheimer's medication. Oh yeah, take your dentures out before you give me the good suck. Okay, let's get back to this video. I'm learning way too much that I did not know about and should have never known.
What does it matter?
This rationale from Destiny makes sense, though, given his history of statements about his own sexual exchanges.
What is this? People keep sending me. Okay, this is Warning,
Hey, fuck.
CSAM, Destiny, I shouldn't tell this because I'm going to get arrested for CPS. We would troll this 8-year-old kid. This kid took off his pants and wiggled his dick on stream. That is...
I shouldn't tell this because I'm gonna get fucking arrested. Or Child Protective Services. I used to be part of this horrible thing called the Bro Squad, okay? Fucking me, if you remember that fucking Cheeks bitch, and fucking a couple other people that have never been on my stream before, we're part of the Bro Squad, and what we would do is we would go around Justin TV streams, trolling the shit out of these people. And we went around from fucking channel to channel, like fucking around. Like it was just horrible shit. We went to this channel with this fucking like, this kid was like 8 years old, and he was fucking broing out with everybody in this chat. And for whatever fucking reason, this kid decides to fucking take his pants off and fucking wiggle his 8-year-old dick on stream. I can't even believe it.
Why is so much of the fucking narrative around being edgy and trolling just like doing straightforward illegal shit?
Oh my fucking god. It was like, I didn't even know, like, we were on Skype, we were like, holy shit. Like, we had to do like a double take because we didn't even fucking know, like, what the fuck was on. Like, we were looking at like an 8-year-old dick, like, on the fucking screen. And his fucking brother, we called him Captain Push-Ups, would like come in the room. And this guy was like fucking 14 years old. He had his shirt off and he was like this, like watching this stream the entire time and shit. Oh my god. Yeah, that stream got shut down. And I don't know if the whole Bro Squad disbanded after that, but I know that I left the Bro Squad after that because the shit that I saw was just too real.
Why is he saying this out loud? This got to be like at least 10 years old, this clip. He elaborates on what he means by age play here. What? Okay, sorry, finally awake, lol. I've had huge fantasies lately related to babysitters, either MMF or FFM. It'd go like, older babysitter starts messing around with younger person, then they teach them / get them really good at sex and start bringing over their friends to mess around with them. So say it's a younger guy. Girl finds out he's got a nice dick and starts teaching him how to eat out and everything, then starts bringing over her girlfriends to fuck them one by one. Ugh, what the fuck? This is... I'm going to say judge me by my enemies again on this. Dude, I apologize. He explaining his type of women? Wait, what?
First of all, we don't say gay here.
Okay, I've never seen a man's DMs that have made me more uncomfortable in my life than when watching.
Jesus Christ.
When you try to message e-girl.
Listen, they like the cat faces, okay?
Can we talk about that for real though?
Tyler, the creator?
No, I don't know. Let's go back to it. How old are you?
Enough to get results.
But you're old enough to not text women like you're an 18-year-old horny virgin.
It works.
That's what I'm saying is that maybe you should target other women. Because the type of women you're targeting where that shit works on is fucking
It's people that
gross.
watch streamers.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Fucking these type of women. Fuck
Yeah, what, should I walk into the professional world and be like, hey, I'm looking for
Yes.
I'd rather fuck the people that like the cat faces than the people that want the fucking $200,000 watches.
Age blend.
For
Your
a girl.
DMs look like a 17-year-old fucking a 16-year-old.
They work.
I don't know.
It's gross.
At least the girls that like the cat faces don't have like fake
That I
lips
was
and
not a
fake
worthy
tits and
target.
fake boobs and fake
Only
fucking
the pure
asses and
people.
fucking. This is not my type of person.
Why?
Because I like the nerdy college like attitude vibe like anime fucking people. That's just
Stop
like my
saying
world.
words that make them younger and younger.
That's not- I don't know how you want me to
High school,
describe it.
middle-
Like
it's not like you have to specialize in these type of women. You can flat bitches from anywhere.
But why